idea where it came from. You did. I'll do it.
Clothed in everlasting wonder, mercy streaming from your throne, brighter than all heaven's splendor. You are amazing, God. There's no limit to your power. None can challenge your commands. you've wanted from the start. The surrender of my heart. Every breath inside my lungs, all I hold within these hands. You can have it all. Here I am. And no matter what the cost, I'll give everything I have. You
one more call for everyone to come in. This is question and answers with Mr. Seth. So, there's still time for you to text questions, and if you need the text number again, it's 466-0025. But we do have some questions, so we're going to see if we can stump Seth.
Awesome. Testing. We both have wireless.
Yay. Oh, I thought you were tethered. Okay. So, what would you tell someone who got pregnant from rape?
Yes, good question. So this is probably the one that you're going to get the most in this debate, and probably you're going to get it the most often as in the form of an attack, right? Because it is so gnarly. It is so personal. It is so sensitive, right? It's not like the woman's getting an abortion because she wants to fit into her prom dress, right? Like everyone recognizes that this is kind of like next level. So unfortunately, just so you're prepared, when you receive this objection in the form of a conversation or argument on abortion, if the person's pro-choice, it will often come in the form of, you're sick. You would force a woman to do that? You have no idea what that's like. What if the baby looks like the rapist? You're going to force her to look at that child every day and every day be reminded of her rape? Wow, I thought you were pro-life. So it's often going to come in that form, where any answer you give, if you're not prepared, it's going to make you look like the moral monster, right? So there are a few questions we have to ask on the argument from rape. But the first thing I like to point out is that according to the Guttmacher Institute, that's Planned Parenthood's statistical research branch, in 2007, 0.5% of the annual abortions were performed on women who had been raped. That's a super minority. Now, that's still a lot of women because when you kill 1 million babies a year, small percentages represent large numbers. So I'm not saying that those women's lives don't matter. I'm just saying we are talking about a super minority. Why is that relevant? Well, because when people use this argument, they're typically using it to justify their support for all abortions. How can you expose this? Like this. Hey, Frank, if we set aside abortions from the case of rape for just 1 second, would you be willing to join me in fighting against all other abortions that aren't from cases of rape? And what will they usually say? No. So then I say, so why are you hiding behind rape victims to justify your position? That's intellectually dishonest. To appeal to the exception to argue for the norm. Does that make sense? So we need to point that out first. But then let's humanize the conversation. And particularly as Christians, we do have spiritual obligations and duties to love our neighbors. And that would include the woman who has been raped and has to endure the trauma associated with that act, right? But this is the next question I like to ask. How many human beings are involved in a pregnancy that arises from rape? Anyone want to shout out a number? 3. Exactly right. The child, who is now here and is a human being, the rapist, and the mother. So let's ask a very extreme question to simplify this argument. Who should get the death penalty? Now, if anyone should, typically the pro-choicer might answer something like the rapist, right? And oftentimes I get them to actually say that because they think it's okay to kill babies in the womb, but they hate rapists so much, and we all do, that they go, oh, the rapist. And I go, actually, you know what? I don't think we have harsh enough legal penalties for rapists. So I try to establish a little common ground there. You're right, I don't think we have harsh enough penalties, actually. I'm willing to entertain the death penalty or castration. And too many times, rapists get out of jail far too quickly, right? But if anyone was deserving of the death penalty, it would be the rapist, right? Okay, well, can we give the death penalty to the mother? Of course not. She's an innocent victim. That's a disgusting insinuation. But you can remind your friends that in some Muslim countries, they still practice honor killings, which involves the murder of women who have been raped because they view it as a shameful action upon her. That's disgusting and immoral because she's an innocent victim. Now, can a woman who is raped and get gets pregnant, murder her rapist? No, the law does not allow her to do that. So here's your question for your pro-choice friend. If the rape victim, the woman, can't murder her rapist who is guilty, why should she be able to murder her unborn child who is just as innocent as she is? Abortion is wrong for the same reasons that rape is wrong. Rape is wrong because it's intentional violence against an innocent human being with no justification. Why is abortion wrong? Intentional violence against an innocent human being with no justification. They're wrong for the same reason. So if we're going to be consistent, let's oppose all forms of violence against innocent human beings. But then they tell you, but what if the child looks like the rapist? You're going to force her to look at the face of her rapist and the face of her child every day? By the way, it's a very offensive insinuation. Many women carry their children to term, and even if they look like the rapist, they don't care. They love that child. But then the question would become, can we kill toddlers who remind us of painful events? Oh, well, no. Oh, then what have they assumed about the unborn? That they're not a full person because they wouldn't kill infants or toddlers that remind us of painful events. Okay? So that's how we can answer that question. We can show grace and love for the woman, and we should. And as Christians, we should rally around her and support her and love her. But it is not compassionate to usher her into the doors of death and tell her she needs to kill her child for the crimes of its father. Does that help? Next question.
Sorry, I lost it.
No worries.
It was an interesting question. It said, nope, that's not it. It's relevant to today. What about a man who gets pregnant? Like transgender, somebody that's had a sex change, something like that.
Well, it's not a man. Next question.
That was it, Seth. Okay, is overturning Roe versus Wade too far-fetched of an idea?
Well, not if you believe in human equality. Now, the practicality of us accomplishing it is a different conversation, and I'll speak to that briefly. But ideologically, no, it's not too far-fetched, not if you believe in human equality, right? People said, oh, that's extreme to say we should abolish slavery. I mean, think about it. Every country and every civilization has had slavery. America abolished slavery faster than any country, and yet apparently America still sucks and we're systemically racist. We abolished slavery quicker than any country in human history because our founders fled a country built on the premises of positive law, which suggests that rights come from government, to craft a new nation built on natural rights and the recognition of their source, God. And those ideas, those rights which spring from our humanity, are merely supposed to be recognized and protected by our government. So because of a country built on the premises of natural rights, we were able to abolish slavery faster than any other country. Incredible. But people thought it was extreme. People thought it was too far-fetched. The whole economy was built on cotton, which was built on the whipped backs of blacks whose plantation owners treated like cows. That seemed way too far-fetched of an idea for people, but we did it, right? Now, the practicality of overturning Roe versus Wade is another matter. But I'll tell you one thing, we are closer now than we've been in a long time. But I'm afraid I have to bring you a little bit of pessimism. There's a lot of optimism in the pro-life movement regarding the Supreme Court. Now, I believe Amy Coney Barrett would vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. I think her jurisprudence, which she said, her judicial philosophy, which she said is in the mold of Scalia, who she clerked for 20 years ago, would lead her to overturn Roe versus Wade. I think Clarence Thomas is an obvious yes for overturning Roe versus Wade. I'm not positive that we have anyone else for sure. I know that's tragic, you didn't want to hear that. A lot of pro-lifers are like, we're one Supreme Court justice away. Did you know that when Roe versus Wade was passed and legalized abortion in America in 1973, we had a Republican majority appointed Supreme Court? Did you know in Planned Parenthood v. Casey in the 90s, another horrific decision was also decided by a Republican appointed Supreme Court justice. Supreme Court. So this has happened before, unfortunately. John Roberts, coward, stabbed the conservative movement in the back about 4 times in the last 6 months. And he's supposed to be conservative. He's supposed to be a textualist, right? Ridiculous. So we've had Supreme Court justices on the highest court of the land before that we thought were originalists, and then they turned around and offered some of the most ridiculous rulings. So I know Clarence Thomas is a yes because he said that Roe versus Wade was one of the worst decisions ever. He's actually publicly said that. And Amy Coney Barrett is a Catholic, a mom of 7, 2 of whom she adopted from Haiti. She said she's an originalist. She said she's in the mold of Scalia. And I think Scalia would have overturned Roe versus Wade. Brett Kavanaugh, I don't know. Okay? I just don't know. And then Neil Gorsuch, I can't tell you that for sure they would overturn Roe versus Wade, but I would hope. And this is why it's very important that Trump gets reelected, right? And Stephen Breyer could step down or die. I hope he doesn't die. I hope he just goes and has some good time with his family before he dies. But he could retire in the next 4 years. He's very old as well. All of this is tragic. Why? Because the Supreme Court was never supposed to have this much power. This was never supposed to be a debate, this political power grab over how many seats you get on the court so that you can ram through your political ideology. This wasn't supposed to happen. Right? That's the rule of the legislature, to make laws. So as Supreme Court justices have weaponized their seat to rein in their botched ideology, which primarily on abortion insists that not all humans are persons, will continue to be in these nasty political battles. Roe versus Wade poisoned our politics. Right? Not only did it make it legal to poison babies in the womb, it poisoned our politics because it made all of these political movements and decisions about abortion. Every time it's all about abortion. This is why Ruth Bader Ginsburg was memorialized and was launched with product lines and called the Notorious RBG. Do you know when that happened? It happened right after Trump became president. Now, the left already loved her, but these product lines and dolls and shirts of the Notorious RBG, that didn't happen until after Trump got elected. Why? Because the left went, oh shoot, maybe Roe versus Wade will be threatened. And who's our favorite justice who will protect Roe versus Wade? Ruth Bader Ginsburg. See how it's poisoned our politics? So is it too far-fetched? Well, ideologically, of course not, and we need to do it. Can we accomplish it? Yes, I believe we can accomplish it. When will we accomplish it? I don't know. But my goal is to be the pro-life generation. And if not, my goal is that you will be the pro-life generation. For the sake of unborn children, firstly, we have to do this. And for the sake of the posterity of this country, we have to do this. Because as Lincoln pointed out, in accepting, let me paraphrase Lincoln to 2020, in accepting the institution of abortion on demand and the premises that make it plausible in the first place, namely that not all humans are created equal, our country is also putting in place the premises that will justify our own enslavement. If we don't get the right to life right, we won't get any other rights right. Oh, look, Democratic governors throughout the country ignoring the natural rights of their citizens to property against the theft, looting, and burning by people convinced America is not good but evil. Oh, they're not protecting the natural right to property. Oh, look, they're not protecting the natural right to liberty, to work, to freely associate where you choose, and to run your businesses in accordance with your best judgment. I wonder why they would ignore the natural right to liberty and property. Maybe because almost 48 years ago, we said that the first and most important of all rights could be denied to 1 million babies a year. If we don't get that right, all of our other rights that flow from that right will constantly be endangered by modern jurists and a ruling class whose jurisprudence is completely foreign to that first generation of judges. So whether it will happen in our lifetime or not is really beside the point because we're called to be faithful.
Thank you. This next question is one that I've heard personally before, and a woman writes in and says that when she was 16, she was forced by her parents to abort. And now her question is, does that make me a bad Christian?
Oh, wow. Good question. Yeah. It's easy to talk about this issue when we're just talking about ideas, right? But we have to remember that more often than not, we're doing life with people who are deeply wounded by this issue. Either because they have lost siblings to abortion, right? Or they have chosen to abort and are still hurting, or they've been forced to abort, right? So I don't know who this is. I don't know who these person's parents are. I would hope for reconciliation and healing in that family relationship, but let me speak very clearly. It is a moral wrong. It is morally atrocious for grandparents to kill their own grandchildren. And you, as a young woman who were pressured, manipulated, or forced by your parents to get an abortion, do not bear responsibility. Now, you could have maybe run away. Maybe you could have ran to a friend's house, right? But we understand that parents are responsible for their own children. They bear responsibility. And particularly if you're not a legal age and you're living at home, and your own parents, those who have been dubbed with responsibility to protect you, are victimizing you and their own grandchildren, I don't want you to feel like you were a murderer, okay? To usher your own child into the doors of death to kill their grandchild. How painful, how horrific. So no, this doesn't make you a bad Christian, and if you want evidence of this, well, I guess it does, but just like we all are, right? Now, is all sin equal? No, but does all sin create a level playing field at the cross? Yes. You ever heard this idea, all sin's equal? Don't believe that. Nobody thinks that killing toddlers is the same as stealing pencils, okay? But all sin separates us from God, and we will all be at a level playing field at the foot of the cross. But the gospel is available to all, right? And the story of King David is one of the best examples of this, right? Rather than leading his army in a battle he should have been fighting, he's playing peeping Tom on his roof, and he's checking out Bathsheba taking a shower. He decides that's not enough. They have sexual intercourse. She gets pregnant. Rather than owning up to what he did, King David arranges the death of an innocent human being, right? Uriah, Bathsheba's husband. So King David arranges to have an innocent person murdered so that nobody finds out what he did. But when the prophet Nathan confronted David regarding his sin, King David hits his knees and repents. And God renews him and calls him a man after his own heart. I mean, this is why the giants in Scripture should be so encouraging to us, right? Because we look at their huge mistakes, some of which have been worse than ours in a moral hierarchy, and yet God used them mightily and forgave them and restored them. But there were still consequences to David's sin, right? He said regarding his son that died, "My son will not return to me, but I will go to him." So that means that if you've chosen abortion or you have been victimized by your own parents and pressured into choosing abortion, it means that Jesus is just as eager to forgive the sin of abortion as any other sin. And if we accept that gospel, not only is Jesus faithful and just to forgive us, like King David, but it also means that, like King David, you're going to see your baby in heaven again one day. And they're seated on the lap of Christ, waiting to welcome you into an eternal embrace. So hear that and receive that. We are all bad Christians because we have all fallen flat on our face and all fallen short of the glory of God. But abortion is not a blacklist sin. Abortion doesn't somehow remove you from the grace of God that's available to all of us. And if this is part of anyone's story, by the way, there are literally 2 pregnancy resource centers represented here tonight, and they would love to talk to you, get to know you, and walk you through a journey of healing if you need that.
For sure. This next one says, I've taken the morning after pill. That's not an abortion, right?
Good question. So when it comes to contraception, there's a lot of misunderstandings, even in the pro-life movement. So we need to define some terms first, okay? There are contraceptives and there are abortifacients, okay? Now the left has sort of hijacked the word contraception, and they use contraception to refer oftentimes to abortion-inducing drugs. Does that make sense? But they put them all under the umbrella of contraception. And then they go, "You're opposed to contraception, pro-lifer?" But then when you start asking them questions, you're like, "Oh, you're referring to some other things that are definitely not contraception." So contraception, properly defined, is what? Prevention. That's what contraception has always meant. Preventing. Preventing what? Preventing pregnancy, right? So condoms, diaphragms, etc. Now, there is the pill. There is the morning after pill. And then there is RU486, the abortion pill. Okay, so what are these things? Well, the pill, just you take it, you're on it as you're having sexual intercourse. I understand some women take it for other reasons, irregular periods or something like that. But typically it's taken when you're having sex so you don't get pregnant. Now, there is actually a decent amount of medical evidence suggesting that even the pill may sometimes cause early abortions. It's very rare. If it happened, we may not know it, but we have good reason to believe that it may happen. Why? Is the pill foolproof? Is the pill guaranteed to prevent pregnancy? No. There's only one thing that does that, right? It's called abstinence, right? So the pill is not guaranteed to prevent pregnancy. So what happens if you're on the pill and you're having sex and you get pregnant? Well, there are fail-safes in the pill that could cause an early abortion. The first fail-safe is to block the hormone progesterone, which is necessary for pregnancy. The second is to create a mucus lining, which makes it more difficult for conception to occur. If you still get pregnant, there is a third fail-safe in the pill that could cause an early abortion of the child conceived even though you were on the pill. Does that make sense? Now, would you know that this had happened? Probably not, right? But we as Christians need to be very careful with these types of new medicines that let us throw off the reproductive instinct that God made in our bodies so we can enjoy sex without responsibility. I mean, can I speak honestly with you? That's what this is about. It's about having sex without responsibility. I don't want to have a child right now. I just want to feel good. That's what contraception is all about. Now, I'm not saying that it's morally evil, okay? I'm not saying that condoms are morally evil. But I'm just saying, let's be honest, that's what it's about. It's about separating sex from procreation, right? So, exercise caution. There's a great piece by Randy Alcorn called Does the Birth Control Pill Cause Abortions? It's a little book. Then there's a synopsis of the book in an article form online. It's very, very helpful and informative. Check it out. Does the birth control pill cause abortions? What about the morning after pill? Well, the morning after pill is taken as an oops pill, right? That's the whole point. The morning after what? Sex. So I wasn't on the pill. I didn't use protection. Now I just want to make sure I don't get pregnant. Conception can occur within 24 to 48, 72 hours, but you're not really going to know when it happens. So can the morning after pill cause an early abortion? Yes, it can. Because if you get pregnant within a fairly short time period, you now have chemicals in your body that are trying to prevent you from getting pregnant. Oh, but you already are. Those chemicals can cause an early abortion. So I don't think that that's a viable option for the pro-lifer. If there's a chance that it might kill your baby if you got pregnant, right? Again, you wouldn't know. This would happen so early. But if there's a chance, should we be participating in that? Should we be juggling human life on the altar of orgasms? I don't think so. And what about the abortion pill? Well, that's just straight up an abortion pill. You take it after you know you're pregnant. You go to the abortion clinic. They give you mifepristone. You take it. It cuts off all progesterone through the umbilical cord, so the baby starves to death. Then you take misoprostol about 2 days later, and it forces your uterus to have contractions, and Planned Parenthood says, sit on the toilet, look, and don't flush. Or don't look and flush. Okay. I could go more into the abortion pill. It's the new horizon of the abortion industry. And in 2017, according to the Guttmacher Institute, 39% of the annual abortions were abortion pills. Cheap to manufacture, sell at high margins, no abortionists needed, no brick and mortar abortion clinics needed, no third-party disposal of dead baby body limbs business. Look at all the costs they can cut off and make more money. That's the new horizon. So that was a long-winded answer, but I figured the other ones would come up. So you've got the pill, exercise caution, read Randy Alcorn's book. The morning after pill, I don't think that's an option for the Christian. The abortion pill, it's literally just a pill-based abortion.
Along the same line, can you speak to the abortion pill reversal?
Yes, so I also have a great episode. I think it's great because it's informative. I'm not saying like I'm awesome, but it's on my podcast. It's called Cancel the Abortion Pill. You're right, we're supposed to cancel anything that reminds us of systemic racism. Well, Live Action has a great undercover investigative report on the history of the abortion pill, and it's pretty disgusting. It has links to, for example, the same company, the company that owned the company that created the gas to gas Jews in the Holocaust is the same company that then turned around and created the first abortion pill. So the same people who created poisons to kill Jews created poisons to kill babies through abortion. And then there's links to Chinese communists and that horrible regime to the abortion pill. So Live Action has a great video on this. Check that out. But I also talk about the abortion reversal pill. And the abortion reversal pill it's just progesterone, right? Because mifepristone or Mifeprex, the first regimen in the abortion pill, cuts off all progesterone. So no nutrients is going to the child through the umbilical cord. The abortion reversal pill is just a bunch of progesterone, right? I also had my friend, Dr. Brent Bowles, who's an OBGYN in Tennessee, in Nashville, and he is the local he's the local affiliate in the abortion reversal pill network. So if a woman calls the abortion reversal pill line after she took mifepristone and she's freaked out and she doesn't want to continue, and she's in the Tennessee area, she'll get linked up with him. So he's delivered babies, he's showed me photos that he has permission to, of babies he's delivered and saved full term, whose lives were saved because he helped the mom get back on an abortion reversal pill after leaving the abortion clinic and freaking out saying, I don't want to do this. So the abortion reversal pill is saving lives all around the country. I'm sorry, I don't have updated numbers for you, but in the beginning of 2020, it was over 1,000 that we had recorded instances of. That was at the beginning of 2020. I don't have the updated numbers. It's much more, obviously. And there may be other instances that we haven't recorded. So that's what the abortion reversal pill is. Now, what are you going to hear about it? Well, from the left, you're going to hear about it that it kills women. You're going to hear that it's very dangerous, right? And they cite a study from Dr. Delgado in San Diego. And this is what I talked about with my friend Dr. Brent Bull. So if you want a full treatment of what the left says about the abortion reversal pill and how they lie about it, that's what we talked about. And they'll say that, oh, this one study, it showed that women who went on the abortion reversal pill, it actually increased their chance of death and it made them bleed more. And it's a bunch of just ridiculous research. None of that is backed up. It was a very small sample size, and the women who were bleeding, the abortion pill was already beginning to work, and the progesterone was administered too late. So, I mean, their study didn't even prove what it claimed to prove. But that's what it is, and it's saving babies all around the country. And so what's the worst case scenario? The baby doesn't live and no harm comes to the mother's body. Because it's just progesterone. This is in birth control anyways. Best case scenario, no harm comes to the mother and the baby lives.
Thank you. Swapping a little bit, how do you react when somebody becomes volatile or angry when talking about abortion? Yeah, so if people are screaming or yelling at you, it's really not worth your time. This person is not someone who's interested in the pursuit of truth. They're not interested in civil dialogue, and they're not there to even try to get you to change their mind. You to change your mind, right? You're there to try to change their mind. They're not even there for the same reasons. They're there to make you feel like bleep, right? They're there to just make you feel like you're a horrible human being. You bag of scum, you Republican rube, you fake pro-lifer. That is their only goal when someone is at that level, when they're screaming and yelling and demeaning you. So just be aware of that and just realize it's not worth your time. Pray for them in that moment and pray that God would give you the words, if any, and then ask them this question. Say, do you consider yourself to be a tolerant person? And if they say yes, then say, wonderful, then I would really appreciate it if you would show some tolerance for my position, which is different than yours, and I would love to engage in a conversation with you respectfully. If they say no, then you would go, oh, I thought pro-choicers were tolerant. But if you're not, then I don't really want to have a conversation with you. But I'd love to if you want to come back at a different time. So you can ask that question to sort of diffuse it and put hot coals on their head, right, biblically speaking. But otherwise, it's not worth it. So evaluate the situation, try that strategy if you want, and then get out of there. It's not worth your time. You're going to get angry and pissed off, and they're going to enjoy it. Okay, 2 more questions. Yeah. I'm pro-life, but I have an overall democratic view on politics. How would you advise me to vote? Yeah, good question. So there is a growing number of people in America, and within the pro-life movement in particular, who identify as pro-life Democrats. Now that party, the Democratic Party, used to make room for pro-lifers, right? In fact, prior to 1973 and the legalization of abortion, the Democratic Party was very friendly to the pro-life position. There were a ton of pro-lifers in the Democratic Party in the 70s. And then slowly but surely, right, that became an unacceptable position as they adopted the premises of the sexual revolution, which suggested that women's rights equal abortion rights. Sexual rights equal abortion rights, even though sex creates new human beings, and so then it's not sex anymore. No, but part of sexual rights is to kill the products of sex. As the Democratic Party adopted those premises, they became increasingly hostile to anyone in their party who held a different position, right? And so now
Bernie Sanders will tell you, as he did just a few months ago, that you can't be pro-life and a Democrat. Now, I'm not saying that, okay? He's saying that, and that's how much your party hates you, okay? Whoever asked this, or if you are a registered Democrat, that's how much your party hates you, okay? I don't believe there is a single pro-life Democratic senator in the Senate. There's a couple who have voted for, there's 3 that voted for Ben Sasse's Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. But most of them come from purple districts, and they may not have won their re-election campaign had they not voted for an anti-infanticide bill. But I haven't seen evidence that they're part of the pro-life movement, that they're on our side, if you will. So there might not even be a single pro-life Democratic senator in the Senate today. What does that say about that party? Now, there are some representatives. Katrina Jackson is one. In Louisiana, who actually was the sponsor of the bill that went before the Supreme Court, which they issued a decision on in May when John Roberts stabbed us in the back once again. And that was the law that just said that abortionists had to have admitting privileges at a local hospital, just like every other ambulatory surgical center in the state. But the Supreme Court said, no, the abortion industry gets a free pass. And why was that bill necessary? It was just to say that if a woman gets harmed in an abortion, which happens a lot, that if that abortionist doesn't have admitting privileges at a local hospital, they can't admit that woman as quickly or get the medical records to understand what happened to her and how to care for her best. And the Supreme Court said, no, Louisiana state doesn't have the right to make abortionists have admitting privileges at a local hospital. Katrina Jackson is a pro-life representative from Louisiana, and she was the sponsor of that bill. So there are still some representatives, but I'm not aware of any senators. That's how far that party has gone, where only 3 senators will vote for an anti-infanticide bill to require medical treatment for babies who survive abortions and are wriggling around on the table. Do you want to be part of that party? Now, I'm not saying you can't be a pro-life Democrat. Sanders is saying that. All that's required to be pro-life is to live and act as if abortion is wrong. So I guess you could be a registered Democrat and vote Republican, but if you want to be truly consistently pro-life, you can't vote for the Democratic Party. Imagine saying, I'm friendly to democratic policies of the 1850s, but I'm against slavery. What do? Can I vote for the Democratic Party? Well, all of us would say no, right? Even woke leftists today who are not pro-life would say that the Democratic Party was evil in the 1850s because they were the party of slavery. So can you be against slavery but vote for empowering and expanding the party's power that expands slavery? I think the answer has to be no. Why should it be any different with abortion? If abortion and slavery are wrong for the same reasons, they both legally deny rights of personhood to image bearers of God while dehumanizing them in order to mistreat them. They're wrong for the same reasons. So therefore we have the same political duties to use our political voice to restore personhood to those image bearers who have been denied that first and most important of all rights. I would love to see that party reformed. I would love to see the Democratic Party embrace pro-lifers once again. But it's not going to happen. Or it's not going to happen in my lifetime. Okay? Ideas that were radical 5 years ago are mainstreamed in that party now. I could give you multiple examples. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary, and Bill Clinton all saying several years ago, we're for the institution of marriage. It's only for men and women. Whoa, how quickly did that go? Holy moly. You'll be called a dogmatist religious bigot if you're a Democrat in that party today and you say you think marriage is the union of one man and one woman. You've seen the footage, right, of Barack saying this as a senator. Marriage is one man and one woman. Now he would thrown out of that party. So that party is not going to leave their party platform on abortion anytime soon. I think your attempts to reform that party are futile. You're welcome to become an independent. I'm not saying you have to become a Republican, but I'm saying if you're truly pro-life and you believe in the full personhood and value of unborn image bearers, then you cannot, it is a moral wrong to lend your support to the very party committed to expanding and profiting off of the slaughter in the first place. That's not an acceptable option to the Christian. I'm sorry if that was difficult for you to hear if you asked that question. And maybe you're getting at the point that I like other policies, right? So what do I do with that? Well, do any of them involve the legalized state-sanctioned slaughter of 1 million humans a year? Right? Abortion is not the only issue today. It's true. Any more than slavery was the only issue of its day in 1850, and killing Jews was the only issue of the day in 1940. But weren't they both the dominant issues of their day? Right? So while there are many issues, they don't all hold the same moral weight. We can talk about tax policies. We can talk about universal health care and universal basic income and everything else that's been mainstream in the Democratic Party. But none of them involve stripping people of that first and most important of all rights. So we have a moral obligation to the right to life first. And there's no relationship between that party and the right to life for the preborn.
All right, this next question, I'm actually going to throw a statement in beforehand and then a question. The statement is that at First Choice, we often hear the man say, I'm going to support whatever she decides. Okay? And then this question is, how does a guy address being told he has no say because he is a male?
It's sexism. Arguments don't have sexual organs. If a male offers an argument as to why abortion is wrong and someone says, yeah, but you have a penis. Yeah, but you're a dude. I say, you're a sexist. You're discounting my entire position and argument because I have the wrong genitalia? How would this go over if a man tried this with a pro-choice woman? Excuse me, ma'am. You have no right to condemn the 40-year-old raping of little boys. If a 40-year-old man rapes an 8-year-old boy, that's a male issue. There are no women involved in that. How dare you oppose that? How dare you speak to that? Would that go over well? No, I would be called a sexist and thrown out of public society, polite public society, wouldn't I? But if a pro-choice woman tells you as a pro-life man that you don't get to have a voice because you're a man, they're just channeling their inner RBG. Ridiculous. That's sexism. Frank Beckwith says arguments don't have sexual organs. So deal with the argument. It's also a form of ad hominem attack, right? When you attack the person rather than the argument that they offered. Okay? So that's the first thing to point out. And by the way, what I love to say too is I love to say, well, actually abortions kill about 500,000 men every year, unborn men. So actually I'm speaking up for them. So I'm speaking up for half of the children killed in abortion, and you're stumping for the slaughter of all of them. So actually it's not a female issue because half of them are boys, right? So that's one way to sort of approach that and think through that. But yes, I hear this a lot, right? I love you, babe. I'll support whatever decision you make, right? Now, obviously, this is a deeply evil position, right? It would be like saying, man, this infant's getting really expensive. I don't know what I want to do, but babe, if you choose to kill him, it's okay. If you choose to sacrifice him to Molech, I'll support you either way, right? That would be a deeply immoral position. So, unfortunately, today's men are so far off the reservation. And this spans across the issue of abortion, right? This spans into many other issues pertaining to what it means to be human, right? What it means to live out God's purpose for our lives. You're probably aware that anytime a pastor stands on his stage and pulpit and preaches and looks out at his church, you can probably assume that about 80%, 70 to 80% of the men in the church are addicted to pornography. Pretty much what the statistics have shown. So is it any surprise that when men dehumanize some women and objectify some women, they'll dehumanize others, namely their own preborn offspring? And I could go into a lot of the links between pornography, sex trafficking, and abortion. I mean, this is like Satan's trifecta, right? And Live Action, again, has done great undercover journalism on Planned Parenthood's willingness to cover up and hide sexual trafficking, statutory rape, and protect pimps. Oh, the organization that dehumanizes and slaughters about 400,000 humans a year turns a blind eye to the dehumanization of other human beings. Who could have guessed, right? So unfortunately, Men already are more susceptible to certain vices that prove to be a lot more dangerous. This just goes back to Eden, right? It's not that women can't be addicted to some of the same things, but boy, do men seem to flame out and burn fast when they get addicted to porn, to sex, to sleeping around. And then that inevitably leads to abortions. So I think a lot of the men today who say these kinds of things have a lot of deeper heart issues going on. And again, probably 70–80% of them are addicted to pornography anyways. So this is just this vicious cycle of objectification and dehumanization, objectification and dehumanization. So we could probably do like a 4-week sermon series on this, as most pastors probably could. I can't really cover it or give it the time that it's due. But at the end of the day, the men who say that are fundamentally just drinking the same Kool-Aid that the pro-choice movement is giving them, which is that babies are not persons, they don't have rights. And so even if they're your own preborn offspring, they don't have rights. So defer to the woman, defer to the woman.
Thank you, Seth. I just want to, again, let you know that there are 4 organizations out there. If God is tugging at your heart and you want to be involved some way, this is what I hear all the time. What can I do to help? Well, we have Maine Right to Life out there. Talk with them. We have an organization that actually helps after babies are born, that provides support to parents and to children, called Safe Families of Maine. And then you have 2 pregnancy support centers, First Choice here down in Waterville and First Step up in Bangor. And I, again, want to thank you all for coming here tonight to do that. And I want to take this opportunity to let you know that First Choice, we're having our fundraising banquet in the fall. This is an annual thing, and this year it's going to be a little bit different because of all the COVID craziness. So we're going to do a virtual banquet, but you still get to have food if you want it. If you want to be a host for a virtual watch party in your own home, you can invite people to your home. You call us by October 19th and say, hey, Wendy, hey, Marie, you know what? We have 10 people coming to our home to watch this, and we say, fantastic. Then, on the night of the banquet, you go to the Parsonage House in Vassalboro, you pick up wonderful, delicious to-go meals, home-cooked, by Lori Dumont from the Parsonage House. You take it home, all you need to do is provide the place and something to drink with it. Then you watch online and have a wonderful time of fellowship. So when you go out, you'll be given a card that talks about our virtual banquet. Seth? We're just so thankful to have met this young man, Seth. And I have been praying for years, asking God to raise up young people, understanding that the baton is going to be passed. And this is going to be your issue. You're going to have to do something about it. And when I heard and saw Seth for the first time, I just knew that we needed to bring him to Waterville, Maine. So we brought him last year, and it was such a success, and so many people, even to this day, are still saying, I still remember, and that young man affected my heart, affected how I interact with other people. So that's why we needed to bring him back again. So thank you so much, really. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So God bless you. This is not a fundraiser, but some of you might be thinking, you know what, I really want to support work here locally. So there is a text number up there. You text GIVE to that number and you'll receive a link back where you can donate to First Choice. Certainly not necessary, but if God is leading you to do that, then there is that number. So if you want to talk with Seth a little bit, I know that he'll stick around and happily have conversations with you. Thank you all so much. God bless you.